creepy and cool TikToks that will blow your mind. Are you ready? Are you ready? Let's go!
Disclaimer: this video is for entertainment purposes only. Please do your own research, as these clips haven't been fact-checked.
Have you ever heard of the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi?
No.
So wabi-sabi is a Japanese design concept, which is beauty in that which is temporary or imperfect. Okay? So have you ever seen Japanese ceramics?
Yeah.
They're wonky, or the glaze is not even.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful. You know why? Because they're handmade. Tree bark, trees. You know, when you have a wooden bowl, wood is beautiful. Why? It's imperfect. Right? Think unique. Things made on a machine are the same and less beautiful. And things made by hand are beautiful because they're imperfect. What makes people beautiful is not that we get everything right. It's that we get many things wrong. And what makes us fall in love is not the person who's perfect. It's the person who accepts our imperfections, and we know we're in love when we learn to accept theirs, not learn to want to.
Right. This one reason AI will not replace human art.
It has officially begun. Today, India have started their attempt at the impossible, trying to count their entire population in the biggest census the world has ever seen. And they better lock in, because it's even more insane than it sounds. Not only did they have to count an estimated population of 1.5 billion people, that's nearly 20% of the entire planet, but also they're aiming to ask each citizen a series of 33 questions relating to things like housing, internet access, living standards, and so on. That would be a total of 49 billion questions. And that's not even the craziest part, because despite the introduction of some digital methods to try and make this census less complicated, a significant chunk of it will still need to be done the old-fashioned way. Door-to-door surveys. And just so you guys understand,
It's gonna take forever.
in India, there's approximately 600,000 villages, some of which are located in extremely remote areas like the Himalayan mountains, which can only be reached on foot. So, to carry out this monstrous task, India have appointed an army of 3 million officials. That's like the equivalent of the entire population of Jamaica, all doing one job. And they have been given just 1 year to complete probably the most logistically complicated task in history. So India, we wish you good luck. You're gonna need it.
What can they ask ChatGPT? This is sad. Stop exploiting someone clearly suffering.
This dude just can't lose. Not only did he sell his image and likeness in 2024 for $975 million, now he's about to get half of his wife's fortune. Khaby Lamb's wife filed for divorce in 2025, citing unreconcilable differences. During the court hearings, it was discovered that Khaby Lamb's assets were not in his name. His house, cars, and major investments were all in his father's name. So now, instead of his wife getting half of that fortune, he is now entitled to half of her $10 million fortune. This dude about to fuck around and be a billionaire just off of doing this. And to this day, he is still the most followed TikToker with 160 million followers. And a lot of people thought that he wouldn't be able to still make money off his image and likeness since he sold it. But that's not true. He basically sold a clone of himself, the AI version of himself.
Let me go block him. Hey, but you gotta admit it, this guy is low-key genius.
These scientists have now officially discovered that a single tea bag releases 11.6 billion plastic particles into your cup.
What we found was there is that there are billions of micro and nano particles of plastics coming out of the tea bag.
So basically, these scientists just tested what happens whenever you steep a plastic tea bag in hot water at normal brewing temperature. They actually removed the tea leaves so that they wouldn't interfere with the project, and they heated the empty bag and then put the water in an electron microscope. One bag, one cup, they found 11.6 billion microplastics and 3.1 billion nanoplastics. That is nearly 15 billion particles from a single cup of tea. UK, are you okay? An official review that was published in Food Chemistry found that even bags labeled cellulose or biodegradable still release significant amounts. They found that many of the standard paper-looking bags are sealed with a heat-resistant plastic that holds the seams together in hot water, so whenever water boils it, it releases. The math is mathin'. Now this is the part that most people don't think about because nanoplastics are small enough to pass through your intestinal wall and enter your bloodstream.
Ooh.
That's why microplastics are a problem.
bad.
The researchers that are handling this entire project said that the plastic levels in tea were thousands of times higher than what's been found in other foods.
I think I've seen the plastic one.
So now we can see this is your brain activity.
To mark the 50th golden anniversary of Apple, I broke up with my iPhone for 2 weeks. Fooled around with an old school flip phone, took brain tests and scans before and after, and the results surprised even the expert.
We're seeing like lots of rapid changes like in your that cognitive control center here when you're scrolling. Sorry, are you sucked in?
At Ontario's Western University, they study the effects of screen time, which have reached over 8 hours a day for teens, according to a 2021 survey.
Yeah.
So to gain some wisdom for my family, I agreed to do a digital detox. Put my iPhone in the phone zone and keep it there as long as possible each day. Set up a dedicated internet chair in my house so I go online with a lot more intention. And I got one of these babies from Dumbco. Flip phone with an app that transferred all my contacts to allow me to text. There is Maps and Uber, a crude camera that doesn't read QR codes. And to type I love you requires 27 keystrokes. But that friction is the point. And by the end of the first week, I could feel my social media cravings fade. I could feel my attention span widen as I read a lot more of the printed page. And the amount of time my little boy spent pestering me to play with the phone dropped to near zero. And then I retook the tests after 2 weeks on the dumb phone, and
Your reaction time improved by about a fifth of a second over that time period.
that's a 23% improvement in reaction time. Pre-detox, I'm below zero brain activity. And then after that red line, it just jumps up there.
The connectivity in your brain became even more coordinated and organized over that time period.
Of course, it would take a lot more data to form any sort of scientific conclusions, but I found the exercise so valuable. It really reset my relationship with this device. Feels like I'm using it again instead of it using me.
What about TV though?
Did you hear about this?
It seems that I have taken myself down a very large rabbit hole because I just came across a TikTok that said the Bible tells you how to heal yourself from all sickness and diseases, Matthew 17:21. So me, naturally, the Bible reading obsession woman that I am, I turn to Matthew 17:21 to read it in the Bible that I read every day. It's not here. It goes from Matthew 17:20 to Matthew 17:22. 21's not in here. There's not a number 21 in here.
Okay.
So we got two more. I open them up to see if they are in here. They are in fact in these ones. This is the KJV, and then this one is the NKJV, so New King James Version. This, Matthew 17:21, Jesus tells us in his words, because it's in red, because I don't know if you know this, but in a lot of old Bibles, if it's in red, that means Jesus said it in his words. Howbeit this kind goeth not out, but by prayer and fasting.
Ooh.
We open this one up. Matthew 17:21. Oh, that is a huge problem. I'm sorry, Jesus. We have to fix that. Matthew 21, and these are in red also. 17, 21, in red again. However, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. So Jesus literally tells us from day one, and this is how corrupt the government and the USA and everybody that's involved is, because Jesus literally tells us in his words, fast and pray, and you will be healed from sickness and diseases. The government don't want us to know that though, so they took it out the Bible.
I'm keen to hear your thoughts, so let me know in the comments. And if you love daily content that builds up your faith, follow or subscribe right now.
Fasting and prayers is definitely the best medicine that we can get.
Today, the internet is being sent into a frenzy over this headline. The bullet used to kill Charlie Kirk did not match the rifle allegedly used by suspect Tyler Robinson. Now, this article from Daily Mail has received over 14 million views in under 10 hours and has sparked hundreds of posts suggesting that conspiracy theorists were right again and that Tyler Robinson is not the shooter. But it's not that simple. Let's start with the part that is true. A recent analysis from the ATF, an official law enforcement agency, could not conclusively connect a bullet fragment recovered during an autopsy to the rifle found near the scene. And now, because of this, the defense for Tyler Robinson is arguing in court that they need to delay the preliminary hearing because they may now want to use this finding along with others for his defense. Now, here's why this headline could be misleading. The main thing is that an inconclusive result literally means there's not enough information to say yes or no. Anything else is presenting uncertainty as proof. Not to mention that inconclusive ballistic results are not that uncommon. One study, for example, by Forensic Science International found that their examiners had inconclusive results in about 20% of casework calls. That's about 1 in 5. And the reason it is so tricky to determine is because experts are looking for these microscopic markings that are left on a bullet as it passes through the gun's barrel. And these tiny scratches are like fingerprints in that no two guns have identical markings. But when the bullet is damaged and fragmented into so many tiny pieces, it's sometimes impossible to conclusively match these markings with its original gun. And that's what seems to be happening here. Now, what that means for this trial is that Tyler's defense may try and use this inconclusive result to clear him of blame, while the prosecution will aim to demonstrate that they have other evidence against him, like alleged text, DNA, etc. But the question is, what do you guys think about this?
We all knew this. Candace Owen told us.
I think we owe this woman an apology. So you remember the "that man is not real" airplane meltdown?
But I am telling you
I'm telling you.
that mother back there is not real.
So back in 2023, Tiffany Gomez went viral after freaking out on a commercial flight, insisting someone on board wasn't real. And the internet's verdict was, meme her, laugh, and move on. But fast forward to now, Tiffany just tweeted, "Redemption is near." And she tweeted this while retweeting Donald Trump's announcement of the release of the government files on unexplained phenomena, including possible extraterrestrial life. So we've got government officials admitting that there's going to be hidden information released soon, which, by the way, is a distraction tactic. And we got Tiffany out here saying that all will be revealed and that she will be redeemed. So maybe she wasn't drunk. Maybe she wasn't crazy. Maybe she did see something that she couldn't explain and panicked. Maybe the question shouldn't be what was wrong with Tiffany, and maybe it should be what did she see before the rest of us were ready to listen.
That mother back there is not real.
I never thought she was crazy. I 100% believed her.
The largest land animals on Earth have been hiding in a forest for decades now, and nobody could ever prove that they existed. So deep in the highlands in Angola, there's a population of elephants that locals have been trying to find for decades. They literally call them ghost elephants, and apparently they move at night and avoid all human contact. And despite years of searching now, no scientist ever in history has ever been able to see one with their own eyes. A conservation biologist named Steve Boyce spent over 10 years trying to find them. He went in by motorbike, by helicopter, and placed 180 motion cameras and 100 different microphones across the entire forest. 7 entire years of recordings and not a single elephant in any single one of them. People actually started comparing him to someone chasing a myth, because if they can't find him, then nobody's believing it. Then a former hunter sent him a message and basically just said, "You're looking in the wrong place," so he changed direction. And finally, the cameras caught something. It was eyes glowing in the dark and the first official images of a ghost elephant ever recorded. They hid from humans for decades, and we officially can confirm that they are real.
If elephants can hide, imagine what else he's hiding.
I will formally sue those law enforcement officers. They released my private video without my consent, which is a complete violation of my dignity. At the time, the officer asked me to perform a series of actions to test my sobriety. I fully cooperated and completed every movement smoothly. I proved that I was not intoxicated at all. The medication in my pocket was Vicodin, a prescribed painkiller for my back surgery. Yet, despite this, he still put me in handcuffs, something that clearly does not comply with proper law enforcement procedures. That is also why I called President Trump. I was fully aware of the kind of negative media storm this incident could cause once it became public. I needed someone who could understand the seriousness of the situation and help manage the narrative. I was fighting for basic fairness and the protection of my reputation. What's even more unacceptable is that
It sounds like AI.
that in the video, those officers casually took out my golf club and played around with it. That club is not just any object, it's the one I used to win 15 major championships. It carries immense personal value and could be worth up to $20 million at auction.
$20
I will not
million?
remain silent about this. I will pursue this matter to the fullest extent of the law.
Yes, he is a public figure, but they did not need to make all those videos public.
Iran has just responded to Donald Trump, and it's not good. This is coming from Iran's parliament speaker who says, quote, "Your reckless moves are dragging the United States into a living hell for every single family, and our whole region is going to burn because you insist on following Netanyahu's command." Adding, "Make no mistake, you won't gain anything through war crimes. The only real solution is respecting the rights of the Iranian people and ending this dangerous game." He's referring to the fact that Donald Trump in his message did mention that he's going to hit bridges and power plants inside of Iran. Hitting power plants that are for civilians, that is a war crime. We also heard from the former Iranian foreign minister who said in a statement, "If the White House repeats its foolish mistakes, it will quickly realize that the flow of energy and global trade can be disrupted with a single signal." He went further by saying, while the United States has learned history from Iran, it is yet to learn the geography of power, referring to the fact that when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, it being shut down for an extremely long time will definitely screw up the world economy. We're already seeing it now. Bottom line is, it doesn't look like Iran is going to be, by 8 p.m. on Tuesday, going to be negotiating with the United States.
Let me know how you feel about this in the comment.
I can tell you that everything you want, everything you dream about already exists in the quantum field. But we are all programmed to be realistic and not dream and just work and work and work and work and eventually you get it. That's not how the universe works. You have to broadcast, your emotions have to align, because you're technically just a huge magnet. So everything you dream of, everything you want is already in the quantum field, just waiting for you to broadcast it and ask the universe for. So always dream big and always remember that everything you want is in the quantum field waiting for you.
Is your husband, is he into witchcraft? No, he's into alchemy.
Alchemy is
He's more like a
witchcraft.
warlock.
On behalf of Amy, I'd like to thank the devil and all the dark lords who
Don't do the devil stuff.
gave her this award
Don't do the devil stuff.
allowed her to feast on the...
Why is it every time this woman gets a mic, it feels like a ritual? This award clip, she's thanking devils and demons. Remember these awards? That weird energy where she looked like she was glitching out on stage. Everyone said it was a dress issue, but look at the eyes. She's been calling herself a witch since the NBC days. And it's funny how they always make it out like it's a joke. Everyone in the audience is laughing.
Yep.
But that's the genius of it. If you act like a witch, people think it's just a character. But if you're actually doing rituals on a live broadcast, who's going to stop you? There's just so many clips that have resurfaced of her over the years. They are pretty disturbing, but she's not the only one. There's others out there.
Come to me, powers of darkness, powers of whoreness and slutness, behaviors that only you can
Slutness.
imagine because you are a whore.
You always described yourself as being very witchy. When was the first moment that you noticed your witchiness?
Right out of the womb.
Yeah. I believe that.
Came out in an evil formation. I was fat right against the wall. Tiny little hat on when I came out.
He thinks he's funny.
Came out in
I literally came out in a hat, witch hat.
On a broom.
You couldn't even see my body. I was just shoved all the way in the hat.
Wow.
People think that you were playing yourself in Parks and Rec, but is it true that you were actually playing yourself in Agatha?
Of course.
Yes.
The most blurred the lines have ever gotten for me.
Yeah.
When I was holding the dagger in the woods.
Yeah. That part was bananas.
It was crazy.
And response to that show, talk about your hag heads. Talk about
I know,
your
my baby
parasocial.
hags love that shit.
Baby hags, sorry.
I'm crazy. They're called baby hags.
There's something about you that like you organically have a witch vibe, as you said. You were called that early on. Like what
age women can be anything. What do you want to be?
Yes, which?
I know, it's hard when there are so many options. Is there any job you've seen around here that you think you might want to try to do someday?
Incredible. The thing is, I didn't even know I was auditioning. You were just being you. I didn't know where I was.
And I sit on the ground and then I turn all the lights off and light a candle and then I open my mail in the dark.
I don't know where I am. It's true. Most of the time.
Is it a guy or a girl up there for you, by the way?
Both.
Oh.
And they're always fighting. That's actually thinking back there that I have a secret.
Are you on medication? Some sort of
Oh, I'm on. Oh, no. Not for this.
Alien mating? What the F is going on? Look, wait a second. You had whistleblowers tell you this kind of thing? Can you please unpack that?
I had a guy who was uniformed. He was a senior enlisted with the United States Army. Came into my office in Crestview, Florida, in a non-classified setting. I had members of my staff there, and what they explained is that the military ran a very secret program where aliens that were living were in forced breeding programs with humans that had been abducted from war zones and from even the caravans of migrants. Now, again, I didn't verify this, but what the whistleblower was telling me is that there were like between 6 and 12 locations around the country where this happened. And what he wanted was a group members of Congress to all show up at the same time at all of these different locations so that any of those activities could not be moved. And of course, it's a physical impossibility to get members of Congress to simultaneously show up at like 8 locations at one time. And so that never occurred.
I'm not sure humanity is ready to process this.
Why is it that every time a story is told about Ellen DeGeneres, it gets weirder and weirder? And why do I say that? Because there was a man who now claims that when he was a child, he was a guest on Ellen DeGeneres' show. And he claims to have seen her do some unhuman, scary, like robotic stuff. So the individual in question at the time was a child prodigy chess player. And as you can see, this is an image from the show he was on. He was a guest on the Ellen DeGeneres show. And the claim is that once he got off the set and went back to his dressing room, Ellen DeGeneres' door was open. He took a look in at the door. It was open enough that he could see inside. So he turned his head and he looked. And what he saw next really blew his mind. And his claim is that Ellen DeGeneres was eating a rotisserie chicken, similar to the ones you see behind me. Now, he alleges that what he saw next, she opened her mouth wide open, dislocated her jaw to fit the entire chicken in one bite. Let me repeat, his alleged claim is that she took a rotisserie chicken, opened her mouth wide, dislocated her jaw, and stuffed the entire chicken in her mouth and swallowed it in one shot, and then turned and looked directly at him. And then claims as she was staring at him, she made a hissing.
She's a reptilian.
Down. He then proceeded to run to his dressing room and let his mother know what he just saw. His mother did not believe him. So my question to you is, do you believe what he said he saw? Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
If you place a piece of foil right next to your bed, by morning, you'll feel 20 years younger. Most people scroll through Instagram before they go to bed. They're looking at messages. They're getting that blue light. Even now, look at the time that you're watching this video. Maybe it's even at night. And then we fall asleep. Most people fall asleep with the phone 6 to 24 inches from their head all night long. Phone radiation weakens your entire immune system. It disrupts your energy balance, but You probably already knew this, you just ignored it. So here's what some people are saying to do. Cover your phone with foil. Foil blocks electromagnetic radiation. That's ridiculous. You know what actually works? Put your phone in another room. Airplane mode. Your nervous system needs darkness, silence, zero EMF exposure. Not a foil-wrapped phone on your nightstand, guys. I'm Drew Canoli. Protect your sleep. Let's go.
What about simply turning off the phone? Huh?
Did you know that there's a Russian Orthodox church right next to the Eiffel Tower in Paris?
Russian Golden Cupola, Eiffel Tower. I was just walking to the Eiffel Tower and I was so confused when I saw this. This is called the Russian Spiritual and Cultural Center, built in 2016. I was so confused on how to enter, but then I realized it's on the side. You have to go through security and then there's another door. I ended up getting the cheapest honey wax candle. And here we are entering the church. Seeing something Russian in Paris made me so happy, but just look at how beautiful this cathedral is. There's pretty much nobody there because I came on a random Tuesday. Then you gotta light up the candle and pray. Outside they also have a little cute shop. You can also get your own cross, but this is something you get when you usually get baptized. Oh, and there's also some icona you can buy. Outside they have this little mini garden area with a Russian flag and a berezka birch tree.
I don't know how about you, but I think it's so random that there's a Russian church right near the Eiffel Tower. Like, look, this was like a 10-minute walk.
What's wrong with that? By the way, it's gorgeous.
These stories are getting crazy. A woman named Kat says that she believes she ran into a pair of vampires in San Diego in 2005. She was 19 at the time and she was in the Navy, but she did say she was stupidly walking around alone in the evening. She said she had just left the mall and she wanted to go get something to eat, and then she was supposed to meet up with her friends in about an hour. She's walking down the street and she said she gets to one of her favorite stores that sells novelties or whatnot, and it happens to be right next door to an adult shop. She says that she notices two men were walking in front of her, and then she also noticed that there was another man walking in front of them. So they were all kind of walking in the same direction. So Kat describes these men as good-looking gentlemen, well-dressed, and she also clocked that it seemed like they had been picking up their pace coming up behind this other guy. This went on for a few blocks where these two guys kept getting faster and faster to this guy in front of them, closer and closer. So she gets to the shops now and she says to herself out loud, but in a low tone, what are they up to? She says she always does this when she's nervous, but she said big mistake, because the moment she let that slip, they both stopped dead in their tracks and turned around and stared at her, and she immediately knew something wasn't right. So there she is, all alone at night in a big city with two strange men that just whipped around and stared at her, almost like that of a predator. So this overwhelming sense of dread comes over her, and she knows that she needs to get out of there. So she ducks in to the adult shop because that one was closer to where she was standing. She said that these guys had been a block away, but in a second, as soon as she got in the store, they were already approaching the door. And the person at the counter, which was right there at the door, immediately knew something was wrong because she had sort of seen this all unfold. So she quickly jumps up and locks the door. She says they're on edge now because that girl just saw what she saw. And in that amount of time, they both kind of looked at each other. And as they were looking back at these men, they disappeared in front of their eyes upwards, as in a blur, and then they saw the bottoms of their feet and they were gone. She said that before they had disappeared upwards, they had a cruel and intense look in their eyes, like she said before, that of a predator. So she waited there 30 minutes, all shaken up, and eventually did call a taxi, and she was able to get her butt back to the barracks. Super duper creepy. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you have your own creepy story to tell, I would love to hear it. And if you're new here, you gotta follow for more creepy stories.
She probably saved the third guy's life. Hope they didn't come back for him.
Everyone knows Lincoln Park is the name of a military base in Canada where they experimented on it.
I think it's Lincoln Park, not Lincoln Park.
In the top secret government project known as MKUltra in the 1960s. Allegedly, it's called RCAF Station Lincoln Park in Calgary, Alberta. Then you have Chester Bennington, lead singer of the band Lincoln Park, who himself suffered abuse as a child and was allegedly working on a documentary in 2017 called The Silent Children, exposing the elites rings around the world, along with his good friend and lead singer of Audioslave, Chris Cornell, who was also heavily involved in the project and the investigations, and happened to tragically take his own life in May 2017. Exactly 2 months later, Chester takes his life in July 2017 while investigating his friend's death, both by apparent hand. Also involved in the Silent Children documentary was world-famous DJ Avicii, who took his own life less than a year later in April 2018, as well as celebrity chef and travel documentarian Anthony Bourdain, who, you guessed it, took his life just a few months later in June 2018. And if you search any of this up, it'll tell you it's just a conspiracy. The documentary never existed, and these tragic passings were all completely unrelated to each other. Well, isn't that something?
Rest in peace to all of them.
I'm here because for us it's the beginning of the holidays, the Easter holidays, very important holidays for us, the Christians. I came to pray and came to join the holiday. As you see, everything is empty, everything is closed because of the war. It's very sad. But at the same time, I'm happy because I'm here. Because probably a lot of people wants to be here and they are not. They can't come here. So even like this, even if it's the hardest time, somehow it's okay. I'm here.
Pray for peace.
I think we want to try to reach new heights as a civilization.
Yeah.
So I think that it's fine to go to the moon, but we should go to the moon in order to establish a lunar base, like a lunar research base.
Yeah.
I mean, there are parts of the moon that are perhaps older than parts of Earth. And we might understand more about the nature of the universe if we had a science base on the moon.
Yeah.
That would be very cool. And then we obviously want to go beyond the moon to Mars and build a self-sustaining city on Mars.
Let's have a look at this lady behind President Trump and just look into her eyes. I've been saying this for a long time. The people that are running the show, people that are behind the closed doors, they are not
reptilian.
Human. They are some sort of shape-shifting reptilian humanoids, and it's been caught on tape over and over and over again. They live amongst us, and this is why they're so evil, because they're not connected to the source of all creation. Peace and love.
They live. It's a documentary. That's wild.
Most of the comments on this video swear it's AI. It's not. Meet the Black Widow. These bad boys are only found everywhere, which is unfortunate, especially because this is the most venomous spider in all of North America. Drop for drop, their venom is 15 times more potent than a rattlesnake. Not to mention, the venom is a neurotoxin, which means it paralyzes its prey. It's so fun. But this is where things get crazy. And that's because their venom is not only a neurotoxin, but it also contains a digestive enzyme, like our stomach. Which means when they insert a bite, this enzyme will literally liquefy the inside of their prey. And then the Black Widow will just drink their insides like a smoothie, no matter what it is. A bird, a rodent, a snake. I never knew that. And I live in this region. Anyone looking for a house? Moral of the story, once again, this is not AI.
Okay.
I wish it was too. And as always, follow for more facts.
I thought they were little. That thing is huge. Oh, by the way, we have flying spider in Bali, but they're not venomous.
What is the fairy?
So Rick and I fly down to Mexico to interview Jaime Maussan. Jaime Maussan is like Mr. Mexican UFO guy. But in the meantime, he goes, Marzulli, Shaw, look at this. And he reaches up to the cabinet, pulls down this glass jar with this thing in it. Here's this head of a demon. The thing's about this big. Wings, a tail. This is a story. They shot this thing. We found it and we did all this tests. We did DNA testing. It's real. It's real. It's real. About 6 months later, we got the fairy out of Mexico. We were at a veterinarian's office. First thing we do is we take it out of the jar, put it on a plastic tray, do the x-rays. They look at the x-ray and they go, looks real. And I pick up this bone thing and I hold it up to the vet and I go, what's this look like? And the vet goes, that looks like epoxy on the end of a matchstick. And we realized it was a construct. There's no skullduggery on my part. I'm on the phone with Prophecy Watchers, Guy Watch TV. It's a fake. It's a construct. 2 days later, we're at the Natural History Museum up in Santa Barbara with a taxidermist and a naturalist who shows us how this thing was done. It's all on film. And then we release the film, Anatomy of a Hoax, for free. This is real research. This is what research, those who are against you, the naysayers, will always be blabbing something stupid.
That's super cool though that you guys, because a lot of people that are, I feel like that are in this realm, they want something to be real so bad that they'll just not even test it or not even
or ignore the fact.
Iran, China, Russia destroy Israel and the United States. Yes, absolutely. China and Russia are helping Iran destroy the United States and Israel. Quietly, China and Russia are giving Iran what it needs to bleed dry the United States of America and obliterate Israel. China has given Iran at least 8 separate pieces of technologically advanced equipment or systems. Look at the list compiled from Chinese news sources. Look at the very first one, YLC-8B radar, 700-kilometer range, designed specifically to track F-35 and B-2 stealth aircraft. And the list goes on.
Wow.
Iran's military capabilities that include stockpiling munitions, drone technology advancements, and ballistic missile improvements, coupled with Chinese radar and cybersecurity systems, will crush the United States and Israel. Why is China doing this? There are 3 reasons. Number 1, the most obvious reason is to ensure that Iran's oil supply continues to flow to China. Number 2, with Iran's control over the Strait of Hormuz and Iran insisting on payment of oil in either Iran's currency or Chinese currency, the money being held in Chinese banks, this breaks the use of the petrodollar and ruins U.S. dollar supremacy. Remember, petrodollars are U.S. dollars earned by oil exporting countries from selling petroleum. The term petrodollars refers to the global practice of pricing and trading oil in U.S. dollars, which supports the dollar's dominance in international finance. And number 3, the final reason that is not spoken enough is a much more impactful reason. In fact, I often wonder whether Trump and his sycophantic cohorts have the intellectual capacity to understand a far more consequential element driving China's support of Iran. That is China's development of a rail corridor that runs through Iran, connecting to the Caucasus and extending into Europe. The project is a key component of China's Belt and Road Initiative, which aims to enhance trade routes and strengthen economic ties across Eurasia. This Chinese rail corridor running through Iran would cut out the use of maritime routes and significantly cut transit times, allowing goods to move from China to Europe in approximately 15 days, compared to 30 to 40 days by sea. This method would greatly reduce U.S. power throughout the Middle East and Europe and greatly reduce U.S. power on the high seas. The war in Iran that Israel and the United States started looks more and more like an inept and stupid move on behalf of the United States. And it is the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran that is destroying both the United States and Israel to the benefit of China. The United States is the declining power, and it is China, the rising power, that is strategically outmaneuvering the mighty United States. China is effectively booting the United States out of the Middle East and Europe, and along with it, destroying the imperialistic colonial project called Israel. Iran is China's conduit to put the final nail in the coffin of the failing U.S. empire and its partner in crime, puny, evil, and fascistic Israel. Palestine will be free from the river to the sea. More next time. I'm Penny Lane. Thank you.
What are you saying, Mom? And please don't cry.
The Kirk universe rabbit hole somehow just reached a whole new level. This one's gonna f you up. So this is Erica Kirk. Another Erica Kirk with the same name of the late Charlie Kirk's wife. Same name, same unconventional spelling, both Americans with very blue eyes and blonde hair. Some even arguing they kinda look alike, but oh, that's barely even the tip. Both were wives of political figures, men who actively engaged in some form of politics. Both their husbands were very outspoken Republicans, Claude Kirk and Charlie Kirk, both CKs. Both of them also passed away in September. Today's Erica Kirk is nicknamed Miss Arizona. The other one went by Madam X, which she was called because people said she just kind of came out of nowhere and was all over the spotlight all of a sudden. Sound familiar? The OG Erica Kirk passed away in April 2023 in Palm Beach County, Florida, a region which just recently became the world's largest investor in a certain country that shall not be named and is completely irrelevant to anything. She passed away at the age of 88, and the current Erica Kirk was born in 1988. They're so similar, even Google's search AI is calling them the same person, but that's probably just a hallucination, no big deal. I think the better question is, are the rest of us hallucinating right now?
The rabbit hole is crazy on this one.
It's a complete understanding amongst all of us that Ryan Garcia has seen a lot of things in his lifetime. And one of his biggest claims of things that he's seen that people still don't believe him? Aliens. He's claimed that he has seen aliens.
Demons.
As a matter of fact, take a listen to this clip.
Wait, have you ever seen aliens before?
Yes.
Bro. Okay, how did you see the aliens?
Oh, man. It was in a sleep paralysis state, and it was watching my body.
What?
He believes that to be true.
And if you recall the time, right before he was about to fight Devin Haney, he was saying all kinds of different things, and everyone just looked at him as if something was wrong with him. A lot of the claims that people tossed at him was the fact that maybe he was on some type of medication, or it was some type of promotional ploy for the fight. And as you just saw moments ago in the video clip I played for you, he sat through a lie detector test and once again confirmed that he's seen aliens while he was in a sleep paralysis mode. So I guess my question to you is, do you now believe Ryan Garcia after listening to that clip and watching him take that lie detector test? Or do you still have doubts about all of the claims that Ryan Garcia has made? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, I'd love to hear from you.
It's better not to tell. People aren't ready.
This just doesn't make sense. How does Taylor Swift have a commercial in 1981? And there's a part of me that's even scared to show you this video because I don't know what to believe anymore. And even though they're going to kick me off for even showing you this, I have to show you. But look, Taylor Swift is an icon. I mean, she's been doing this for years. World renowned as one of the best, dropping countless top 100 Billboard hits. But something doesn't add up here. How she was actually born in 1989. But then when glamour dolls were around, they were supposed to rival even the Bratz dolls and the Barbie dolls. So then why was Taylor Swift in this commercial?
The Glamour Gals collection. Dolls, party plates, fancy firebirds, the show place collector's kit, each sold separately. You can send in proofs of purchase from any 3 Glamour Gals dolls. Jessie, Danny, Lonnie, or Shara, and any of 3 outfits. And get Jessie in fancy formal free. Details are on the specially marked packages. Offer expires on March 1st, 1982. Glamour Gals Collection, Jessie and Beautiful Bride.
They look alike.
There's a particular set of rules that you must remember if you are to camp alone. Now, the first rule of camping alone is never set up your tent at night, because this is when you are the most vulnerable and you cannot keep focus on what's behind you, what's around you, because you're focused on putting up the tent. The second rule is always have a fire going. no matter what time of day it is, always keep that fire going and keep it nice and bright and tall. The third rule that you must remember if you're camping alone is when you go in your tent at night, make sure it is completely sealed up. No holes, make sure everything is zipped and closed, because it's believed that stuff can even come in through the tiniest of cracks. Now, the fourth rule, when you are camping alone, you should never make noise at night. You should never whistle. You should never sing. You should try and keep it quiet as possible. Now, the fifth rule, which is the most important, is always have some sort of entertainment. Keep yourself occupied. Have some music. Have an audio book, but never let yourself start to wander and let your mind go, because that's when you are the most vulnerable. Now, there was this man named Jonathan. Jonathan decided he was going to go camping alone up in the Rocky Mountains. So he heads up to the spot, and he sets up his tent and gets his campsite ready. And he said he just remembered that, you know, there were all these sounds of wildlife and the wind blowing, and it was just very peaceful and sort of like musical. And he said, you know, he had his dog with him, and they sat around the fire for the bit, and it started to get late. So he decided to go into his tent. So as he goes in his tent, his dog lays over to the side of him, and soon he begins to doze off. Well, at some point in time in the night, he awakes to something shaking his tent. And he said he could hear this voice saying, please come out of the tent. Like, I need help. Help me, please. Get out of the tent. Help me. And so he's like, what's going on? Like, what's going on? So he goes to the zipper, he unzips the tent, and he goes outside. But when he gets out of the tent, there's nobody around. It's just completely quiet. And it was eerily quiet because he couldn't hear the wind anymore. He couldn't hear the wildlife. And he said that the other strange thing was when he went to bed, there was this bright full moon overhead. But as he looked up in the sky, the moon was gone. There wasn't any clouds. It was a completely clear night. But the moon somehow had disappeared. Ooh. So this kind of freaked him out a little bit. He goes back inside his tent and he zips up the zipper. Well, he lays down, and he said, you know, his dog would come to the side of him or would lay by his feet, and that always made him feel a little better. So he said, you know, he started to kind of doze off again. He said that's when he kept feeling like the dog, like rubbing his leg. And he's like, what are you doing, boy? Like, you know, I'm trying to sleep. And he said that's when he looks down at his feet and there's nothing there. What? And when he looks over, his dog is right over here towards his head. So he is like, you know, what's going on? Like, was there an animal or something? He goes, he unzips the tent, he goes outside. Said, don't go outside. There was nothing out there. As he got ready to go back in his tent, he said he started to see these shadows. He said he could see figures that looked like they were tall, skinny, kind of lanky. Ooh. They almost looked like they were crawling around amongst the trees. They were all around him. So he hurried up, got back inside his tent, and he zips it up. And he just said, you know, he's just sitting there with his dog. And the whole time he thought it was strange because the dog didn't alert to any of this. It didn't bark. It was just quiet. It was just laying there. Scarce. And he said that's when all of a sudden he felt this tent start to move. Something grabbed the tent and was dragging him. What? And he was so afraid that he passes out. And when he awakes, he said the tent was completely still, felt like everything was normal again. He said he thought it must have been a dream until he unzips the tent and he realizes he is a good distance away from his campsite. So he grabs his dog and they run out of there back to his vehicle, and they left that night. And they left the tent and everything behind. So it's important to remember, when you camp alone, always know the rules.
Rule number 1, don't go camping at all.
Vlad the Impaler, also known as Dracula, was a Christian hero. Romania still teaches their children this. They honor him as a defender of their nation and their faith. You weren't taught that. You were taught that he was a monster, a psychopath who impaled people for sport. And there's a reason they told you that story instead of the real one, because the real story exposes something they don't want you to see. The difference between a Christian prince who who waged war on soldiers and an Islamic empire that waged war on women and children.
What?
Here's what your history books left out. The Islamic Ottoman Empire was waging holy war against Christian Europe. They were swallowing Christian lands, city by city. And Vlad knew exactly what that conquest looked like because he spent his childhood as their hostage. He watched Christian cities fall. He saw what happened to the women, saw boys ripped from their mothers and converted at sword point. He watched his own brother break under the pressure and convert to Islam. But Vlad didn't break. And when he finally took his father's throne, he made a decision that would echo throughout history. Not here. Not my people. Not while I breathe. You've probably heard about the golden age of Islamic tolerance. Muslims, Christians, and Jews living in harmony. A multicultural paradise.
They have to pay jizya.
That supposedly put those backwards Christian kingdoms to shame. Ask yourself one question. If it was so tolerant, why did Christian populations disappear? Because here's what tolerance actually looked like. The Devshirm, the blood tax. Ottoman soldiers would arrive in Christian villages and demand the priest hand over a list of baptized boys. Boys as young as 6, kidnapped, forcibly circumcised, forcibly converted to Islam, and trained as soldiers used to conquer more Christian lands and steal more Christian children. Hundreds of thousands of boys over the centuries. Vlad watched this empire from the inside. He understood exactly what was coming for his people if he failed. So when the Ottomans sent envoys demanding tribute, gold, and boys for the Devshirm, Vlad didn't negotiate. He impaled the envoys.
Bring it.
Sultan Mehmed II, the conqueror of Constantinople, the most feared military commander in the world, had assembled 150,000 Islamic troops to crush Vlad personally. Vlad had 30,000 Christian men and absolute clarity about what defeat would mean for every woman and child in his kingdom. Outnumbered 5-1, he knew he couldn't meet them in open battle. So he made his entire country a nightmare to invade. He poisoned the wells so the Ottoman Empire had nothing to drink, burned the crops so that they had nothing to eat, and drove the livestock into the mountains so they couldn't resupply. Then came the night raids. Vlad's men striking after dark, slaughtering soldiers in their sleep, and vanishing before dawn. Then Mehmed's army reached Targovist and saw exactly what was waiting for them. 20,000 Ottoman soldiers impaled on stakes, stretched out for miles like a forest of the dead. The stench alone stopped the advance. Now pay attention because this is crucial for context. Vlad's cruelty was aimed at soldiers. Ottoman cruelty was aimed at civilians. The men on those stakes were combatants, soldiers who had participated in the rape, enslavement, and slaughter of Christian women and children. And what did Ottoman cruelty look like? When Constantinople fell in 1453, Mehmed's soldiers were promised 3 days of lawful plunder. Eyewitnesses documented what followed. Tens of thousands of civilians enslaved, women raped in the streets and inside churches, nuns violated on altars, young women stripped naked and sold in slave markets, the elderly slaughtered wherever they tried to hide. The Ottomans made war on women and children. Vlad made war on warriors, and it worked. It worked. Mehmed II, the man who...
They should make a movie about this.
This couple is already drowning in $2 million of debt, but they still insist on blowing $1,000 a day on food, starting the morning with 4 jumbo boxes of tomato pasta. With each container weighing in at a solid 3 pounds, Lisa takes the first bite of the spaghetti, that tangy tomato sauce hitting the texture of the noodles. Tastes like something straight out of a Michelin star kitchen. Meanwhile, her husband Mark grabs a massive steak, dunks it in cheese sauce, and shoves it in his mouth. They polish off this entire appetizer in under 5 minutes. Then it's time to move on to the actual breakfast. 220.
What? That's not a breakfast?
Cheese pizzas hitting the table, alongside 2 5-liter jugs of ice-cold Coke, plus 3 pounds of burgers and greasy fries. That soft dough, mixed with the aroma of melted cheese, is so good they literally can't stop themselves. But even after all that, Lisa still isn't quite full. She makes her husband hand over the very last slice, only then finally calling it a wrap on their massive breakfast. With the pantry completely bare once again, they take out another loan just to go grocery shopping. Mark goes straight for the most expensive premium ingredients. Even with $2 million in debt hanging over them, they haven't cut back on their daily spending one bit. Before long, the husband is back home again, getting ready to whip up lunch for the two of them.
Man, that's crazy. Why?
Bananas are loaded with magnesium, but it turns out it's not the fruit, it's the peel. Itself. So no, I'm not going to make you eat the peel.
I was going to say.
Don't worry. So I developed a recipe that I call banana tea. All it is a regular old banana. So what you do is you cut off the stem, right, and cut it in half, and then you drop it in to some boiling water. Okay, so we've already done this, right, and you can see the banana has turned brown, right? It's been soaking in the boiling water. So it's not really tea, it's just basically hot banana water. But with the banana, from the skin, you also get these things called phytosteroids that actually help you absorb the magnesium better than if you just had it from a supplement.
Bananas are sprayed heavily with pesticides and fungicides. Not sure I would want to drink that water.
Niece of Qasem Soleimani, the IRGC general the United States killed in 2020, was just arrested in Los Angeles. She and her daughter had their green cards revoked by Secretary of State Rubio for actively promoting Iranian regime propaganda while living a lavish lifestyle in the United States.
Dumbass.
And if your first reaction is just, well, that's ironic, you're missing the bigger story. There's actually 3 stories here. The first is what an intelligence professional would call a lifestyle indicator. When the family members of senior regime figures are living in the country that the regime calls the Great Satan, enjoying the freedoms, the economy, the legal protections, while simultaneously promoting that regime's propaganda online, it tells you something about the sincerity of the ideology. This is not unique to Iran. This is a pattern that you see with authoritarian regimes worldwide. The leadership class sends their families, their money, and their real estate portfolios to the West, while telling their own population that the West is the enemy. The ideology is for domestic consumption. The lifestyle is for export. In Iran, their words and deeds are for the glory of Allah, but for the family members, their bikinis are for Instagram. Ooh. The second story is operational. The State Department didn't just revoke one family's green cards. Earlier this month, they also terminated the legal status of the daughter of Ali Larijani, the former secretary of Iran's Supreme National Security Council. That's 2 senior regime families stripped of their American foothold within weeks. What you're seeing is the United States systematically dismantling the Western infrastructure of the Iranian regime's elite class. These are the escape hatches, the places where regime insiders park their families and their assets in case things go bad at home. And right now, things are going very bad at home. Think about what this does to the calculus inside whatever's left of Iran's power structure. If you're a senior IRGC commander, you had 2 plans. Plan A was the regime survives and you keep your position. Plan B was the regime falls and your family is already safe in Los Angeles or London or Vancouver. The United States just closed Plan B. That's not immigration enforcement. That's a strategic pressure operation. But the third story might be the most powerful, and it's not aimed at Washington or Los Angeles. It's aimed at Tehran. If this story is broadcast inside Tehran, and you can bet it will be, it shows the average Iranian citizen something devastating about their own regime. The family of Qasem Soleimani, the man they were told was a holy warrior and a martyr for the Islamic Republic, his own relatives were living it up in Los Angeles and Las Vegas in ways that can scarcely be called conservative or religious. While ordinary Iranians suffer under sanctions and repression in the name of the revolution, the regime's own family members were enjoying everything the Great Satan had to offer. That's not just hypocrisy. That's proof of fraud, top to bottom. And remember what we talked about in the last video. Only 57% of Iran's population is ethnically Persian. So you've got Kurds, Azeris, Baloch, Arabs. Nearly half of the country held under a Persian theocracy that demanded sacrifice for an ideology its own ruling families didn't even believe in. And when that story reaches those populations, it doesn't just embarrass the regime. It demolishes the moral authority that was the last thing holding that structure together. Keep thinking.
I mean, you live in their house. Now you talking, about them. That's crazy.
So this is a single piece of marble. It is 4 tons. The room was built around it. This marble doesn't exist anymore other than basically here. Something like 80% of this marble that exists is here at the Vatican. But you couldn't get it out of this room. The marble is bigger than the doors. And it's too heavy to pick up and move. So this is one of those examples of build around what you have. Cool, huh? So here's more of that same marble. It was made as a tomb for Constantine, who's not in it. But over here, more of the same marble. But it's Constantine's daughter, and she is inside this tomb.
So what is that large ball intended to be used for? Was it a bet?
This guy accidentally married a marine spirit because that can happen apparently, and there are consequences. I am back with another spooky story, and this one is a submission from South Africa. We're gonna call the person who submitted the story Shabby. So this is the story of one of Sabi's patients. Sabi himself is a spiritual healer. So we're gonna call the patient Tabo. Tabo has been one of Shabby's longest patients, and in order to align with his ancestors, Shabby was instructed to frequently take Tabo up to the mountains and the river to perform certain rituals that would connect him to his ancestors. So everything was coming along fine, and he used to have dreams of his water guides giving him instructions. Now, Tabo would tell Shabby the instructions that he dreamt, and basically Shabby would do as told. However, Shabby would filter out certain things because Shabby knew that there were other spirits that would try to hijack the process and pretend to be his ancestors. Shabby told him about this. For instance, Tabo once dreamt of an old woman with long hair at the riverbank. This woman would never look at him in the face and would always turn her back on him. And he would hear her voice. She had long hair, smooth skin, and would always sit by the riverbank.
She has long hair.
So one day, she instructed Tabo to bring a black chicken, red wool, and basically gave him instructions on what to do. And when Tabo told Shabby this, Shabby instantly had doubts. Shabby told him, let's delay this. But Tabo became so impatient since the woman showed him visions of wealth and success. Tabo could not wait, so one day he decides to consult a different Sangoma. And the traditional healer told him that he would be able to do everything for him for just 400 rands. So now they went to the river and performed the ritual. After the ritual, he went home to sleep. At around midnight, he heard a voice calling him to the same river. He explained it as a smooth, calming voice, more seductive, and he definitely couldn't resist. When he got to the river, he met a beautiful lady who was semi-unclothed. She was bare-breasted and had an ancestral cloth around her waist. She told him to come bathe with her in the reeds, and after that, the woman disappeared, and then he fell asleep at the river. A few hours passed, and he woke up when people started coming to the river around 5 a.m. When he woke up near where he was sleeping, he found a beautiful ring with a gemstone. It was a blue gemstone that had a shade of red. And Tabo was thinking that this ring was from his ancestors, so he put it on his ring finger. Maybe he shouldn't have done that. After he did that, an influx of memories came rushing in. He remembered that while they were in the river, it was like a wedding. There were drums, feasts, and he remembers putting a similar ring on a woman. It was also this alien-looking figure with sharp teeth who was conducting the wedding ceremony. He had a robe made from seashells, bones, sharp teeth, and crocodile teeth. Well, later that day when he got home, his fiancée called out of nowhere and broke things off with him. And up until now, he cannot be in a relationship with anyone. And twice a month, while he's asleep, he feels himself being intimate with someone who is slimy. He cannot wear long trousers. Whether it's winter or summer, he has to wear shorts since the woman that he's married to loves his legs and wants them exposed at all times. He also dreams of kids calling him Papa. If he ever tries to become intimate with any other woman, his manhood becomes soft. Wah, wah. Yet, when he is intimate with the woman, well, the spirit, he says it is the best schmecks that he ever had. And Shabby says that even when he checks his bones to consult him, Tabo appears every time as a married man with kids. South Africa is no joke when it comes to these spooky stories.
Bro married a siren.
Are Nephilim demons, or are they just half human, half angels?
Nephilim, the actual term, is a term to describe the disembodied spirits of half angelic and half human beings. The term Nephilim itself is translated in the Septuagint as Gigas, which is giants.
Gigas.
And because they are this unholy mixture, they are part spiritual being, but they're part human. And now their spiritual reality, after their body dies, it has nowhere to go. So the spirit is disembodied because it takes after angelic kind of patronage. And in light of that, it's stranded on the earth. These Nephilim become these warrior kings, but they're also savage. They tear apart things. They're cannibals. They drink blood. All of these things are all present. But when they are killed, when they're taken care of, Og of Bashan in the Bible is considered a Nephilim. Nimrod is very likely of a Nephilim descendant. Goliath comes from the clan of the Nephilim. After they die, their spirits are aimless. They're wandering. They're trying to make sense of, and this is why they want to embody. This is why they want to possess.
Right.
They have a feel.
They don't have anywhere to.
And they remember what it was like to be embodied, right? This is also why I think they go chaotic and they go kind of mad because they're just trapped, aimless.
I heard this story before.
I really think that we are the advanced civilization. I mean, just take a look at this building, for example, the Atkinson Art Gallery and Library here in Southport, where I live. Now, when you slow down and really just look at this architectural beauty, you know, the level of detail is just incredible. Just look at the stonework, you know, you've got carved figures, symbols, decorative arches, relief panels, you know, literally telling a story in every bit of this stonework, you know. It's like every single section feels like someone sat there for hours, maybe even days, carefully shaping every line by hand. But this building was put up in the 19th century, you know, long before modern machinery or computer-designed construction. Back then, architecture wasn't just about throwing up structures as quickly and as cheap as possible. It was about craftsmanship. It was about beauty. It was about building something that would stand for generations. And when you compare like that to a lot of the modern buildings today, the glass boxes and the plain concrete blocks, it really makes you think, doesn't it? You know, maybe we've gained speed and convenience, but somewhere along the line, we might have lost the beauty of artistry and pride. You know, the next time you're in your local town and you see the old buildings, just don't rush by it. You know, look up, take in the details, because I'm telling you now, these old megalithic structures tell more of a fine, truthful story than our textbooks in school have ever told us. I'm telling you now, the people who built these places left pieces of their creativity carved into the stone, and those stories are still here hundreds upon hundreds of years later. You know, this stuff just completely fascinates me. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and obviously, I'm as fictional as a dinosaur, baby.
Now show working class dwellings from that same era.
Why do billionaires pay millions of dollars for paintings that look absolutely terrible? It's not because they love ugly art. It's because they understand something you were never taught. Here is how it works. When the tax authorities send a billionaire an $80 million tax bill, they don't pay for it like normal people. Instead, they go shopping. Not for a yacht, not for a mansion, but for a painting. They drop $50 million on something that looks like a child threw paint at a wall. But here is what most people completely miss. They do not hang it in the living room. They store it in a freeport. A freeport is basically a high-security warehouse where the ultra-wealthy park their assets and bypass most tax rules entirely. The painting just sits there, tax-free. Now here is where it gets powerful. They put it up for auction. Other billionaires in the same circle start bidding against each other. Not because they want the ugly painting, but because by doing so, they artificially inflate the price on paper. That $50 million painting. It is now valued at $80 million. And here is where the real move happens. They do not sell it. They donate it to a museum. And the moment they do, the government hands them a full $80 million tax write-off. That original tax bill? Gone. They paid zero to the government, offloaded the painting, and now the world calls them generous, art-loving philanthropists. The museum gets a headline.
They get to keep their $80 million. So the next time you see an ugly painting sell for millions, understand this. To billionaires, it is not art. It is a financial weapon disguised as culture, and the system was built to let them use it. If you want to learn more ways billionaires protect their wealth, comment wealth and I will personally send you my playbook.
I have ugly paintings. Any billionaire interested?
This is huge breaking news coming in. North Korea just conducted an engine test for a missile capable of reaching the U.S. mainland. The North Korea successfully testing a 250-ton rocket motor to measure its burn rate, thrust, and structural integrity. North Korea already has nuclear warheads and ICBMs that can reach the U.S. mainland, and now it has a motor that makes those missiles bigger, stronger, and more reliable. Yet nobody is launching Operation Epic Fury against Kim Jong-un. Why? Because North Korea already crossed the finish line. Once you have a working nuclear deterrent, the cost of attacking you becomes unacceptable. And the main thing is, this 250-ton motor test demonstrates North Korea's growing ability to extend the range and payload of its missiles, potentially allowing it to carry multiple warheads. Such tests are also a signal to the world that Pyongyang is advancing its missile technology rapidly and can maintain a credible deterrent. Unlike Iran, North Korea has managed to combine both nuclear weapons and delivery systems, giving it strategic leverage and reducing the risk of foreign military intervention. The global lesson is clear. Nuclear capability changes the leverage and reducing the risk of foreign military intervention. Make sure to follow for latest updates.
North Korea has no oils. That's why.
Oh, I am willing to bet that Erica Kirk
This is funny.
is pissed about the new skit that Drewski just released. Can't nobody say that this man is not funny. And I fear Drewski 8. The first part of this skit, he shows up with the sparklers in that all white outfit. Let me tell you, he got the look right all the way from the hair on her head to the shoes on her feet. Stop. Then the devil stare that nobody can forget. And once again, I fear Drewski 8. Then he goes into the weird, awkward scenes where it always feels like she's making herself look like she's crying. And no, he couldn't forget the hand gesture, because she never fails to do this after she gets done looking like she's about to cry. And then throwing his twist on Erica Kirk's weird speeches that just never land right. I just know Erica Kirk right now is sitting back looking at this skit with those devilish eyes. She is so mad about this, because I'm afraid that Drewski didn't miss one time with his representations of Erica Kirk. But y'all let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments.
It's not funny, but it's hilarious.
Nature's Own bread. Look
Nature's
at the expiration
Own
date.
right here.
November 25th, 2025.
2 months old.
This bread is over 2 months old. Look, it ain't no mold on the bread.
Garbage.
Nowhere. So now look, my
It's a
wife,
hole
she
on
makes
the
homemade
bread,
bread.
too, on the
This is
bag.
a piece of bread that was left. She made this like a week before we went out of town. We was out of town for a week. So this bread is less than 3 weeks old. Look. Look at how much mold is on this bread,
Fresh
man.
bread.
Look, I wanted to show you what I'm talking about. I'm about to put this in the compost. Because this is what nature does over time. It
Yeah.
breaks down. But look,
Decomposes back
this is
into
the bread
nature.
she made. Look at that.
Wow.
Back in the days, remember it was like that? But peep this, though. This
He's
is
so
why I
smart,
did this
he's finna
video.
go back to
So
the
I talk
compost.
about enriched flour all the time, how it's a chemical process they do that to make it to where wheat don't spoil and it lead to weight gain. And Nature's Own used to use the enriched flour. But check this out. Notice right here in the ingredients now it says wheat flour, whole wheat flour. Notice it doesn't say enriched flour anywhere. But notice right here it says cultured wheat flour.
They know when everybody looking for enriched, they change the terminologies, bro. These people are hilarious. Are devils. They're hilarious, bro. Because like they know nature is a staple within the community of bread. You feel me? Most people this they go to, they ain't even gonna think about it. They grew up eating this. Give me my bread. You feel me? That's why when everybody was saying, yo, get that Dave's Killer bread back in the day. Like as soon as when I first went vegan, I figured out about all like the food and stuff like that. So that's when I started learning about different products. But I guarantee you Dave's Killer bread ain't the same how it was in 2019, 2020. So
All right, from now on, I'm going to make my own bread.